Okay, I'm up on Mount Wilson, which means that down there in the valley somewhere, there he is, out there, it's Los Angeles, City of the Angels. And you can't see it now, but so it's all trapped underneath this. The smog all sits in the inversion layer, which is why the observatory is up here. And down there in the valley somewhere is Pasadena, where there's the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which, if I'm lucky, I'm going to get into and actually take a look at the Mars Science Laboratory, which will be on its way to Mars in a couple of years. Anyway, so I'm surrounded by these giant masts, which are probably giving off a fair old few kilowatts of microwaves. So I won't hang around here too long. But this is really about the Ray Comfort discussion. And many have voiced the sentiment that they were disappointed with my performance. And I would like to add some points to this. First of all, Ray Comfort, who's down there somewhere, was not the main purpose of this trip. I mean, I've travelled about 5,000 miles in the last 2 weeks. It wasn't just to see Ray. It was to see the country and to essentially make a video blog to share that with people. And I've been putting out videos at a rate of about once every day or so on the Beauty in the Universe channel. I mean, this is just a selection of what I've done over the last week. And by the end of the night of the Ray Comfort discussion, I was doing this. Now, many have criticised my performance as being stammering, which is, I think, a very fair criticism. I think you have to put some mitigating factors in there, though, that, first of all, this is not what I do. I'm not someone who... This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. Sat down in front of the cameras, bright lights, all that sort of thing, and had a discussion with someone like this. Meanwhile, Ray Comfort, on the other hand, he's in his element here. He does this sort of thing quasi-professionally. And secondly, it was me in the lion's den here. I walked into their ministry, into their studio, and whilst I think that I am a fairly reasonable man at maintaining composure, these things can unsettle you. So, on another thing is, many of you thought that I should have. Many wanted to see blood, and I'm not entirely sure that would have been the most productive way to have gone. In that, what I think I was mostly after here was the two people actually explaining in some detail why they had the beliefs that they do, and tying up emotions in that I didn't think would actually add a lot to this, in that what I really wanted was the contrast between the way that I perceive things are going. Yeah, the future is bright was, I think, probably the one that summed it up for me, whilst just Ray's appraisal was the future was grim. And I also think that Ray said some things that really didn't reflect terribly well. Of the notable ones, when I asked him whether he believed in witches, wizards, demons and sorcerers, his answer was, on camera, yes, and of course to all of them. And then, of course, there was the air-conditioned whale for Jonah. God created an air-conditioned whale for Jonah. That God made snow. He liked to play the shell game a lot, you know, my God made the mechanisms that made snow, which, of course, basically means that the universe is completely naturalistic, and if you want to play the shell game and say, well, yeah, but God made those naturalistic laws, you've not actually added anything there, you've just made a statement of opinion. So, you know, I can say, yes, well, my flying spaghetti monster made your God with the ability to make the universe with naturalistic laws. It's just a shell game. You can always say, yes, but that's the way that my God made things. Yeah, it doesn't add anything. It is zero informational content. And other things that I think that Ray said that were rather strange was the bit about abortion, where he said that, yeah, from when there's blood there's life, which I pointed out there was no blood in a fertilised cell. I mean, blood probably only comes along it. I don't know without looking at the embryology, but I would guess minimum a week, you know, before it starts producing. And now you need the bones. You need the bones to make the blood. It's going to be significantly on in the developmental part of the embryo. Anyway, so then I asked him the question, you know, what if the baby develops without a head? Which, yeah, this was a complete stumper for him. You know, he would want to say it's alive because it's got blood and it's pumping around and such like. But, you know, if that counts as dead, at what point did it die between the embryo and the headless baby? I mean, the headless baby is still alive inside the mother. But anyway, so that was a kind of a stumper for him. And what was the other one? I forget. Actually, it suddenly comes back to me. The last point was God and Todd. When I pushed Ray on, what was the difference between the imaginary figure that I can create in my mind, the powerful alpha figure who loves me, and from the love of that powerful figure I get a good warm feeling inside? What was the difference between, and you know, this alpha who will punish me if I disobey him and reward me if I obey him? What was the difference between that and his God? And his answer was, well, my God is described in the Bible. And that was basically it. The only difference between a complete figment of imagination and his God is his God was described in a book. And even if this achieved nothing else, I found it a useful experience for myself to actually see firsthand, to actually probe, if you like, the mindset of someone who is beholden to this character in their mind, and what motivates them to pollute the knowledge of mankind as they do. So, yeah, enjoy the vista.